Hello, all you kings, queens, and those in between, and welcome to episode 3 of the Busted Limes podcast. I am your host, Paresh Maharaj, and today marks more firsts in our young show's life. The first is that this is the first time that we will reveal that my co-host cousin's name is Black Belt. So going forward, that's what we're going to be calling him. The second first is that this is our first episode with guests. I know, how exciting. For this episode, we sat down with a close friend of mine who chose to be called Unknown Rivers, and some guy named Fredo who said he wanted to grift some clout or something, I don't really know. At any rate, for this episode, we decided to let our geek flags fly and just talk about conventions. We don't really follow an outline for this conversation, we just sort of let it flow. So this intro will be a little shorter than usual. So, without further ado, prep your cosplay, book your hotel, and take a fucking shower. And let's start the show. Alright, so I just have one ground rule. Under no circumstances are any of you going to desecrate the wholesome sanctity of this podcast, Fredo.
Yeah, guys, watch your fucking language.
That's right, folks. Welcome to Clout Grifters, a podcast.
Hey! None of that. Let's save that for the end.
Hey, we specifically said in your contract no hostile takeovers.
I'm like, are we doing plugs? I thought
we're doing plugs. I got several. I'm ready to sell out, baby.
Here, I thought I was just taking over this podcast, bro.
For years I've looked for a fat-free mayonnaise that didn't let me down in the taste department.
Tell me more.
And now, finally, through the power of Miracle Whip. Oh man.
This is it, guys. This is how we get banned from SoundCloud in only 3 episodes.
For the record, Miracle Whip, if you are listening, the others might not, but I am 100% ready to sell out. So,
great story. And hey, folks, if your dicks aren't working, why don't you subscribe to BlueChew.com and get that sent right over to your door?
If we want to get like the Fox News market, we need to start marketing like bedpans and like
MyPillow.com for sure.
Coin collections.
I mean, at this point, if you want to get the Fox News demographic, just tell people to go outside.
Well, they're not going to be around for very long if you do that.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Coronavirus is a liberal hoax or a Chinese hoax so that China can have like a better economy. Is that I don't even understand the like conspiracy, but I
mean, listen, I was busy with finals. I missed the liberal meeting where we discussed the hoax of the week, so I don't actually know if it's on us or not. Can somebody fill me in on that?
I'm canceled in most left circles right now, so I still get the newsletter, but I'm currently permabanned on I still have my Breitbart account though, so I got that going for me.
So hey folks, how we all doing?
What the fuck were we supposed to talk about today?
Off to a great start.
Yeah, before all of that, so for this episode, we're actually going to be talking about, in the age of coronavirus and social distancing, we're going to reminisce on all the fun times that we had at these little places called conventions. Now,
That's right.
Assuming that the world is still the world when you're hearing this, conventions were these places where people would gather and just either meet like-minded people and even meet voice actors and sometimes real actors.
Not implying that voice actors aren't real actors. He means like live action actors.
The long begotten days when we could actually socialize with one another.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, that's reparation. I'm glad you could provide this context because I keep imagining, just with how bad things are, that somebody's going to stumble across this as like an audio log in a post-apocalyptic video game.
Yeah, like Last of Us sequel where we have to use our podcast for side quests.
Yeah, somebody's going to find like four parts of this this podcast like scattered across like a giant waste dump, and they're going to slowly piece it together to figure out like what happened to each of us, how we slowly had to eat black belt for nourishment, and
let's be real, if your plan for survival is to eat the skinniest member of the group first, you're not going to make it.
I didn't say it was a good plan.
Yeah, well, it is, because we would come up with a bad plan. It would be a collapsed society, so it would make sense that we would do the dumb thing.
I mean, we are doing a podcast.
Yeah, I specifically, everyone on Twitter was just like, hey, young straight men, I know this is hard, but absolutely do not start a podcast, and here I am once again going against the grain.
Dude, my mom saw that post and sent it to me and Paresh. Okay.
It's nice to know that your family's being supporting.
Family's like, you guys better not be starting a fucking podcast.
No, she said it to us specifically because we were 2 episodes in.
That rules. So con stories, yeah.
So yeah, I think the best way for us to start is just to go one at a time and just to talk about our history with conventions and just what they mean to us. So I'll go first since I've clearly been doing the least amount of talking in this episode so far.
Get used to it, buddy.
Yeah, seriously, dude, isn't this your thing? What the fuck?
All right, so I first started going to conventions at around 2012, and yeah, it's been like the highlight of my year every year, and
second only to my birthday.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that. But yeah, I've been going since 2012, and I've only missed 1 year, and that's when I was studying for the dang bar.
That was a mistake. I still think you fucked up on that one, Paresh. Like,
oh yeah, trust me. Black Belt has a story that actually proves you right. I just know it.
Was it the year the Spice Girls came to town and they were just like, Spice Girls, timely reference, right? But,
they're still around, right? Well, actually, I guess not. I don't know.
If you're going to mention the Spice Girls, let's just mention a bunch of others 90s shits. Whoever finds this in the post-apocalypse doesn't actually know what year this was.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I was at a Britney Spears concert.
They're talking about the Spice Girls, but now they're talking about Star Wars, but like the original trilogy.
I can't wait for Crosby, Stills, and Nash to show up at the next convention.
I don't know why it's just such an odd confluence of like the convention musical guests Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
So boys, how about them Rolling Stones?
I'm just imagining kind of like a small time anime convention, and the headliner is like Wendy Lee, and then Crosby, Stills, and Nash right after that.
Anyway, so 2012 you started out.
Yep. Well, how about you, Fredo? When did you... I understand you actually don't go to much conventions, though, do you?
Well, on and off. So a fair bit further back. And I think the first few that I went to was back in the day, kind of before we had the modern convention scene and conventions. It was mostly just like a big hall with a bunch of people selling like comics, like 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
So I checked out a few like way back then, and it was like fun, but I didn't really get into like the scene because there wasn't as much of a scene. At least the ones I was going to, there wasn't the like party atmosphere and the socialization. It was mostly like dudes that are like comic book guy from The Simpsons just rolling through all of these long boxes in this giant vendor room, trying to find books. And you'd have conversations with people. There was a little bit of cosplay, but it was like pretty different from how it is now, or at least the ones we were going to. So in terms of the modern, getting into the sort of current scene, it'd be pretty close to you, like in the 2010s. Maybe a little bit earlier, like in the late 2000s, 2005, 6, 7, stuff like that. I started going a little more regularly into what I guess we would call like the modern, anime and comic book conventions, where there's like way more panels and events, and the hotels kind of set up rooms for it and have all the partying and drinks and all the fun stuff that we kind of associate with it now.
All right, cool. And how about you, Unknown Rivers? What's your history with conventions?
It's funny that you mention, Paresh, that you started around 2012, because I actually, the first time I ever cosplayed was, I think, the year that I first met you at a convention.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I had gone to a couple kind of like, I had always been interested in kind of like both like the con scene and the cosplay scene. And when I was first introduced to it, it was a little more, kind of obscure than it is now. Now it's kind of this like big, national. My grandmother knows what cosplay and she knows what Comic-Con is and stuff like that. But back then it was kind of just when it was more just like a kind of a loose collection of nerds. I was really interested in that, and being somewhat of a social outcast in in my younger days, that kind of atmosphere was really appealing to me. But yeah, I had gone to a couple small ones, kind of around, I think 2010 or 2011 was, really the first time I had ever gone to a convention. But the first time I ever nutted up and actually put on a costume and walked around, that was the year I met you, and actually met a lot of people that I'm still everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people I know, including some people in this chat, I know because I went to that convention this year and started meeting people through that. So I don't want to say I'm a veteran. I'm certainly still amateur when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it is just still a hobby for me. I'm slowly transitioning into being an Instagram thought. I want to be a thirst poster. That's the eventual goal. But
when can we expect an OnlyFans?
Yeah, post hog.
Funny you should mention that. So at the end of this podcast, if you want to spend $5 a month, I will dress up as your favorite character from Samurai Pizza Cats and do any number of.
What is that? You're reminding me. What is that cosplay like soft porn site that's always at the conventions?
There's several. I'm trying to think. Some of them have booths there.
Yeah, because there's one specific one that like always has an 18+ booth that you have to show your ID to get into.
And it's like hidden behind a curtain or something, right?
Yes, that's right. And it's like, nudie. Well, not. I mean, I don't want to like disparage, because it's they do like kind of boudoir type stuff of cosplay. Look, I'm not here to like talk shit about people. So I mean, hey, if that's the thing you want to do, that's totally cool. I have no issue with that.
I respect the hustle, honestly. If all kidding aside, if I could make money just selling photos of myself dressed up as Squall eating a piece of cake or something like that, I absolutely would.
But that being said, it's never gonna like not be funny to me. Like the idea of Naruto porn or whatever will never not be a little bit funny. I mean, I'm sorry, but
them shadow clones.
Jesus.
I'm trying to think of what the most ridiculous like cosplay fetish video would be. I'm just trying to think of like.
Oh, let's not go. That's a very dark rabbit hole to go down. Hey, speaking of dark rabbit, have you guys watched Beastars yet? Because that's got some pretty.
Oh boy,
dude, I have heard things. Things about Beastars.
I mean, from what I've heard, it's basically Zootopia with more hardcore in it. So I don't know how I'm mentally prepared for that.
It's Zootopia that knows its target audience is adult furries.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And before I sidetrack us too much, let's.
What? Did this podcast get sidetracked? God no.
It's like 7 hours later, we've told one story.
We've told one story. We've just talked about various kinds of furry porn for 50 minutes.
yeah. But so I think I'm the last one to go. So yeah. Oh yeah. So I went to my first con, actually with Paresh. In case this hasn't been properly conveyed by this point, Paresh is my older cousin. So yeah, my brothers and I got interested in conventions just from seeing like all of his con photos and just, seeing all these fucking nerds dressed as anime and video game characters and thinking, these are my people. This is where I need to be. So yeah, this would have been in like 2014 was the first time.
2014, yep.
Yeah, 2014 was the first time I went to a con. I kind of just dived straight in. The first year I went to a con, I also actually cosplayed that weekend. And yeah, I got suckered in like a 2-year-old trying cocaine for the first time, and I've been going back ever since.
What neighborhood did you grow up in?
Damn.
Well, I don't want to get doxxed. I'll just say that I had to walk through a golf course to get to my bus stop when I was a kid and leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
But there has only been 1 year that I have not gone to that con since I started going, and that was the summer after I graduated from high school. That was a whole thing, but I did also end up going the 1 year that Paresh didn't go, and when I get to that story, it won't be the first one I tell, but when I get to that story, you'll understand why he so regrets not going that year.
I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah. And actually, if we're going to talk about stories, Paresh, you know exactly what story I'm going to start with, right?
Yes, exactly.
You know.
It's from your first convention, actually. Yep, so.
Yes, this is a story from my first convention in 2014. This is a story that we have retold to ourselves and to other people every opportunity we get since then. Normally, when we bring it up in conversation among ourselves, we simply refer to it as the Troy Baker story.
Uh-huh.
And Troy Baker, he has a small role to play in this story, but my God, was it formative for my young con-goer self. So
And we should probably, I mean, I don't, the audience probably knows who Troy Baker, prolific voice actor, has done a lot of video game voice work.
If you've ever played a video game, you've heard his voice.
Yeah, he's like the. I think he took over Joker for Mark Hamill.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, one of his.
I mean, he's done everything.
So he could literally say, "I'm the Joker, baby."
Yeah, well, except he would do the. Hold on, let me see if I could do that. Like, I'm the Joker, baby. Like something more like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, like that. I'm the Joker.
We live in a society.
What do you say to that, Betsy?
Why didn't you call me back when they remade Tales of Symphonia, baby? Yeah, but so to paint the picture for you, we were at the entrance to the autograph area, and so me and my other brothers, we were waiting outside. Paresh had gone in to get autographs from some other voice actors there who, well, it was the cast of the Animaniacs, and the Animaniacs show was a little bit before my brothers and our time, so we just decided to let Paresh go handle that. And while we were just sitting outside waiting, this was like right around when the first 3DS Pokemon games had come out, so we were like, doing Street Pass and all that shit. And I see this guy walk in front of me, this guy, kind of long hair, and I didn't totally see his face because he was like drinking something as he was walking by pretty quickly. And as I see him walk past me and walk into the autograph area, I watch him go and I say, that guy kind of looks like Troy Baker. And my brother, of course, looks at me like I'm a fucking idiot, and he says, "You idiot, that was Troy Baker." And I do double like, wait, what? Shit, oh my God. Yeah, Troy Baker literally walked like social distancing distance right in front of me into the autograph area, and I just kind of looked past like, Clark Kent kind of looks like Superman. How about that?
Yeah, well, you didn't want to interrupt him drinking, whatever delicious.
And I mean, of course, he definitely looks like he was in a hurry. And for context, the reason why I didn't immediately recognize him is because I had only seen him like in his publicity photos in the pamphlet, and he had longer hair in real life at that point than he did in the photo. So, and again, he was drinking. I don't think I really saw his full face, but I mean, obviously, I saw enough to think, oh, hey, I think that's Troy Baker.
Yeah, well, and I guess if you would have gone up to him, maybe you would have seen like a mark or whatever. Like they probably get harassed all the time. So
the funny thing about that is, literally less than 30 minutes later, as all four of us and now Paresh had come back and we had told him the story. As we were walking past, we saw another guy walk past us, and we thought, oh hey, that guy looks a lot like Bryce Papenbrook. Wait, that is Bryce Papenbrook. And we actually did get to talk to him briefly for a little bit, but he was in a hurry because he had to go to an autograph thing, and we were trying to get to another panel. But we did briefly wave and talk to him, so that did kind of reassure me a little bit. It was like, okay, if I had like tried to talk to Troy Baker, maybe I would have gotten like a wave or like a head nod out of respect or something.
Yeah, you would have gotten maybe like a 10-second interaction.
That was 5 years ago, and I'm still waiting for the day where I can go to a con and see him again. Like, my goal is to like finally get closure on the story, is to tell the Troy Baker story to Troy Baker and hopefully not sound like a fucking maniac.
I saw you 5 years ago. You had longer hair then.
You were drinking something.
Yeah. Hopefully the fact that I was like 15 when that story happened will like, make up for the fact that I displayed no social interaction skills in that story. But like,
honestly, I think you did the right thing in that scenario.
Oh yeah, no, in hindsight, I totally know that I did.
Yeah, I would definitely feel weird, like if I recognize an actor or something, just going up to him and marking out, especially because, I know they're there to do events and panels and stuff.
Yeah.
And
BB, to kind of pony off that story, I also have a kind of like a random celebrity run-in if you want me to jump right into that.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
This was at one of the this was at one of those kind of like larger conventions. There's obviously for those who aren't into like the con scene, there's usually like I think about 3 or 4 big conventions across the U.S. You have the various Comic Cons. You have the San Diego one, the New York one, and there's a few other kind of like big headliner ones. This was one of those. So I was doing the same thing. I was kind of just rolling around kind of the celebrity panel, seeing whose autographs I could add to my my wall of nerdiness. And I was there with two other friends at the time, and we had to go pick somebody up. So where we were riding an elevator, and it was kind of cramped. There were about 10 of us in there, and standing next to me was kind of this older Asian gentleman. And this was a huge hotel, so we're talking about 70 floors. So I'm just kind of killing time, kind of while waiting there. And I talked to him and be like, oh, you enjoying the convention so far? And he's just like, oh yes, I just love seeing all different kinds.
Gee, I wonder who that guy is.
No. And then so we get about, I keep talking to him, because when I looked at him, I was like, oh, he kind of looks like George Takei, but he could just be an old man. So the worst case scenario, I'll just talk to him, and the worst case scenario is I just have a nice conversation with a lovely old man. But then about 30 floors up, this guy next, I'm just chit chatting about nothing, and this guy holding like a nice photography camera just turns and looks at us and just goes, "Oh my god!" And at that point, he and everybody else in the elevator realized that was George Takei, who was riding up in the elevator with us. Yeah, so I rode all the way up with him to his room. Super nice guy, by the way. Like I said, I was lucky in that I got, before he got swamped by everybody else in the elevator, I got a good 2 minutes of just casual conversation with him, and just really nice, really down to earth kind of guy. At least from the 2 minutes I had interaction with him. So.
I had always heard, I mean, this is of course anecdotal, but I had always heard he's like really cool and happy to be there, as part of the scene. He's not one of those, because there are some celebrities that are like begrudgingly like, oh, I guess I'll go meet these like dumb marks or whatever. But
like Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah. And well, because I guess he's come from kind of more, like now, like I said, kind of like voice actors, even they have their own like, group of super fans, and things like video games and anime are much more mainstream than they used to be. But
sure,
Takei, he comes, first off, he's a very prolific actor. He's been in tons of stuff outside of Star Trek, but that's obviously what most people know him from. But he probably never really got this kind of attention until until like a generation or two had time to grow.
Oh, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Let's not get into pure flicks leading man Kevin Sorbo.
No, that'll be for the next episode. He's who I'm waiting to run up to when I go to like ChristCon or whatever, or the Pure Flicks convention for saved souls.
Yeah, Sorbo's going to be the guy outside with the megaphone screaming about salvation at every con.
It's going to be a big milestone when the protester with the sign actually has his own booth and panel at the con.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, that's what the convention's for, is so that they can go to other conventions. I actually got in trouble once for in costume harassing one of those street preacher, you're going to hell salvation guys.
Really? What happened?
Full disclosure, I was dressed as Deadpool doing this, but this was before he kind of became a meme and kind of just became one of the worst things ever.
Whatever you say, buddy.
Look. All right.
He's like, before it became a meme in 2019.
So there I was at the 2020 San Diego Comic-Con, baby. This was way back in the day. So I was dressed up, and frankly, I would like to point out I was dressed up as I was in the Deadpool yellow costume, which not many people wear. So not many people know that when he tried to join the X-Men. So that was me.
So you were a special Deadpool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I was special. I wasn't one of those be like like, I'm Deadpool but in a dress, or like I'm Deadpool but I'm covered in rubber chickens, or any of that crap. But so there was a typical, like there were like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of those guys, and they were just they were shouting those usual like the devil only likes plaid shorts, and that kind of thing. So I was just getting in character. So I I started reciting the monologue that Sam Jackson gives at the beginning of Pulp Fiction, and you will know my name is the Lord. And they didn't like that very much, and one of them actually went and complained, because I went on just saying whatever popped into my head for about 5 minutes, and one of them eventually went and got one of the officers, and I was asked politely to leave. which I did because I have the heart of a coward, and I didn't.
Yeah.
That wasn't the outfit I wanted to go to jail in.
Hey, I'll be real. That's probably the best use of a Deadpool outfit since the Ryan Reynolds movies. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's definitely a really good microcosm for the real world that the people who actually cause trouble get the police protection and nobody stops them, but then anyone that stands up against them is like immediately cut down and brought into custody.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, because they filled out the forms, Fredo. They filled out the forms to
You see, the problem there is also that cop was a DC fan, so like if you had been dressed as Deathstroke, it probably would have been fine.
He shows up as like Lobo.
If I had been dressed up as the Homelander, he wouldn't have had a problem with me.
You know. So speaking of superheroes, because I am a master of segues and continuing conversations. This most recent year at the local con that we all frequent, I think this was probably like one of the top. Well, I was about to say top 10 years, but I haven't been going to cons for top 10 years. But when I fit into enough cons to have top 10, this will be the top 10. They had the cast of two of probably the most popular shonen anime right now. Ever is My Hero Academia, probably one of the most popular shonen right now, and probably one of the most popular shonen ever, Dragon Ball Z. And that was really fun because, I mean, it's first of all, it's fucking Dragon Ball Z.
It's Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and it's like kind of to go back to your point, Rivers, that you made earlier about Decay and how we were talking about how a lot of these people, like how they're only really experiencing this huge surge of like fandom support and popularity now as cons become a thing. Like the Dragon Ball Z cast, like Dragon Ball Z, the English dub at least has been around since the 90s, but it really took a while took a few years to take off, and even now it's kind of amazing that it's like retained enough popularity now to this day, even discounting, Super being a thing. And like that one thing that really stuck out to me that they talked about during their Q&A panel is that most of them weren't able to do voice work full time until within the last few years, which is something you hear a lot from voice actors.
Now, is that just because they were associated so strongly with those characters? Or just because they were so busy doing those shows?
No, just like voice acting wasn't putting enough money on the table that could be their full-time
job.
Oh,
I see.
Like,
okay,
Sean Schemmel, the voice of Goku, like, aside from voice acting in general, he was, a French horn music tutor. And then, like, Chris Sabat, like, his real full-time job is doing voice production at Funimation. And, like, sort of a segue from that, like I constantly go down the voice acting rabbit hole listening to all these like interviews and stuff. And one thing, voice actor Liam O'Brien, who most people know now from Critical Role, but like most of the people in this voice chat probably know him as the voice of Gaara in Naruto or as Illidan in World of Warcraft.
Oh, all right.
His main voice acting stuff now, like he's never been able to do acting full time, whether it's on stage or in voice acting. Like he's also a voice director, like ADR stuff, and that's like aside from Critical Role, that was his main bread and butter. So it's just kind of interesting to me that you see these people who, like, for us, like their voices were like the background of our childhood, and then we get to meet them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this was basically a side hustle for the last 15 years because it wasn't paying the bills."
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense because I do remember reading about this a lot when I was younger in the 90s and stuff when anime was a little bit more niche, and they would talk about how, like, in Japan, there's this whole industry of seinen and, they're all like big stars and stuff, whereas in the US, I guess that absolutely makes sense that up until very recently, it was just a thing that you did on the side.
It was such a niche thing, and it was kind of for a niche audience back then because I thought about like the early my early exposures to anime was like I had seen Akira, but then like occasionally the Sci-Fi Channel would play an anime movie,
the Galaxy Express or something, or
it would usually it was since it wasn't really drawing in any money and stuff like that, you didn't really have and no disrespect to the actors and actresses who were working on them, but they were kind of more obscure, C or D-listers, so you wouldn't get quite the level of performances that you get now. So
sure. Yeah, I mean that's also true. I mean, not to throw shade on any of those performances, but I think a lot of those people, back in the day, were less professional. It wasn't their full time job, so they didn't go into it as well as some of the folks now. And I can't help but wonder. It's rabbit hole number 5 here. I kind of feel like maybe video games played a part in this, that the sort of people becoming prolific through video game voice acting, Nolan North and Troy Baker and these types becoming big stars through that, maybe had, well, I don't know how much it had to do, or if it's just coincidental that industry kind of blew up alongside anime getting bigger. But it does seem like the US is in a place where we do have these people like Troy Baker that are big stars because of voice acting.
Funny that you mentioned the video game voice actors.
We are so off the rails.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the train back on the station.
All right, yeah, rein it back. Yeah,
this ties into adaptation as well too. So we're hitting both things here, because I was at a convention. I was talking to Lori Allen, who I know best as the voice actress for the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, yes, absolutely. She had that great performance.
Yeah, if you know the most mainstream, she's been in a couple Pixar productions now too at this point, so she's really blown up. And the role she's probably most known for by most people is Diane Simmons on Family Guy, the female news anchor.
Right.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that was the same actor.
Yeah. She's obviously got quite a range, and but I was talking with her, because she really, I think she was one of the most inspiring performances. Fredo, you've played that game, so you.
Oh, absolutely, and she was absolutely terrific in it. I mean, really awesome job.
So yeah, I was talking to her about how much she inspired me in that game, because I've done some acting on the side myself. Nothing noteworthy, but it is a side passion I have of mine. So I was talking about how much she inspired me, and she said, basically, she had never even considered doing a video game until she read the script for MGS3 and just loved the boss character so much. And just, again, another really sweet, heartfelt, it really meant a lot to her. Like, she came around the booth and gave me a hug after I told her that she was such an inspiration to me. So, for a lot of these actors and actresses you get to meet, it really is about passion for them, because she doesn't I think she does now. I think she's finally at a point where acting is her full-time job, but at the point when I met her, because this was several years ago, she still had a day job. I don't remember what it was, because this was a long time ago, but she was not a full-time actress at that point, which is crazy to think, because like I said, now she's been in Pixar films. She had she wasn't a main character on Family Guy, but she was, a recurring character.
Sure. Well, it's absolutely wild that somebody who's not even an actor as their primary job put on such an awesome performance.
Yeah, no, it was, well, I think Metal Gear 2 is one of those things where they go out of their way to get really good voice performances from everybody, because Kojima wishes he was a movie director.
Yeah,
he really does. Yeah.
But Metal Gear was one of those first games that said, we're going to really put in a lot of work on our voice actors, because David Hayter is fantastic. David Hayter is fantastic as Snake.
Never forgiven for replacing him, Kojima.
Oh,
I love you, God. I mean, that was really lame.
I have, at this point, speaking of cons, I have met. My goal is to meet the entire cast of the Metal Gear universe, because I've met David Hayter at a con, who's also another fantastic guy. The convention I was going to, it was a really, really small one. I don't even know how they got him. I was dressed as Naked Snake, and because I wanted to meet David Hayter dressed as Naked Snake. That was
disclaimer for anybody not familiar with Metal Gear Solid: that does not mean that Rivers was naked.
Yeah, it was the version of Snake from Metal Gear Solid 3.
It was the naked refers to he didn't have any weapons or equipment. He had to procure them all on site. So
that's right.
Yeah, but I was also naked because I took it to the next level.
Sure.
That's
what it does.
This is why I was running, because con security was chasing me. Once again, like Fredo mentioned, the little guy just getting stepped on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Ouch.
But no, I was literally running through the convention hall dressed as Snake, because I had personal problems that prevented me from getting there earlier, and the convention hall was about to close, and I got to his booth and he wasn't there. and I was damn near tears because I had spent so much time on this costume, and he was the only reason I had bought a ticket to this stupid thing. And then out of nowhere, out of seemingly nothing, David Hayter appeared, and he said, "I'm right here," and kept you waiting, huh?
I was like, pictured him popping up behind y'all, like, kept you waiting.
Since it was closing down and there was no one there, he just spent probably a good 5 to 10 minutes talking to me. Again, another really great guy.
Wow, awesome.
The first 2 X-Men films, he wrote them.
Yeah, he's done a fair amount because I've heard him on a few podcasts and stuff, and I was surprised to learn, like a lot of people, that he's a screenwriter and like a fairly prolific one at that. He's done a fair amount of movies, including those 2, and he's done some stuff more recently. I mean, obviously, I don't have it in front of me because I wasn't expecting us to have this conversation. But heck of a career outside of voice acting, which for him, I think, always remained a side gig. Other than Metal, I know he did some work on Republic. I don't know if anybody played that. It was a pretty neat game.
I think it's one of my favorite things about meeting people at cons is like I only know them for 1 or 2 things, but then when you're in line to meet them or like they do like a roll call or whatever, they have a list of all the things that they've been in, and it's so fun to look at that list and be like, oh, I didn't know they were in that, or oh wow, I didn't realize that they played that character that I also like, and it's like
absolutely.
Like when we went to see who was it? Monica Rial, when we saw her last year.
And she's one of those people that's done like a ton, right?
And like I knew obviously she's an extremely prolific, not just an actress, but also ADR, like voice directing stuff. But like just looking down that list, like she had a poster that was fucking taller than I was, just full of thumbnails of all the characters she's played. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, she's definitely a heavy hitter in the con scene.
And she has range, though. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these voice actors, like, obviously you have some actors who, like, they have 1 or 2 voices they do, and they do them really well. But, like, Monica Rial is one of those actors who she just has tremendous range throughout all of these roles.
And is she most famous for does she do Lena from Slayers? That's her, right?
I do not know.
I believe so. I'll admit that the roles she does that I'm most familiar with are Bulma in Dragon Ball and Froppy in My Hero.
Okay.
So I'm kind of a basic bitch when it comes to what I know most voice
actors. No, I don't know that many of them either. I mean, I think that's the point, is that a lot of these actors, like, you might go in knowing them for 1 or 2 things, but a lot of them, and I know she's a big one because every time I see her, like in the listing for a con, her credits fill up like a page. It's just so much stuff she's been involved in.
I think my favorite example of a voice actor having roles that like don't seem to fit together well is, and another person we met last year at the local con we go to, is the cast of Super Mario was there. So they had Charles Martinet was there.
I was going to say that, damn it.
Yeah, and he plays Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi.
Hell yes.
So I completely forgot until we got to meet him and we were seeing like all the little like posters and stuff that he was selling and signing. He also plays Parthurnax in Skyrim.
That's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had heard that before too, and that is great.
Oh my god. Black Belt. Tell him about how he was also there with Bowser and Princess Peach and Toad, but explain to them how the tables were set up.
So basically what happened was the setup is, so in the autograph line with all the booths lined up, so you had Princess Peach, then you had Bowser, and then you had Mario. They literally put Bowser in between Peach and Mario in the autograph line.
Of course, how could you not?
And when we were in line to meet Charles Martinet, we kind of joked with him about that. He was like kind of snacking while he was talking to people because it was like the middle of the day. So like since he couldn't like talk or respond, he like angrily shook his fist at Bowser's voice actor and like threatened him with like a bottle of hand sanitizer.
That's great.
Yeah. And like then we were in line to meet Bowser's voice actor, and he was trying to get like the little like credit card reader thing to work on his phone, and like he made some joke about like the machines are coming against like technology or something, and I was like, hey man, I work in IT, we're already there. And then he just pointed at me very dramatically and said, so this is your fault. Yeah. And I should mention that while he was trying to get the thing to work, he was making Bowser noises in irritation as he was trying to get it to work. He was always like trying to get his phone to work.
I do love, and you know, that does feel like a thing that's popped up more recently, is that when actors go to these cons now, they lean into it, they do all the bits. They keep people going. It's great. And so I have a few like older friends that have been in like the ancient going to the sci-fi conventions in the 80s and stuff. And it feels like, at least the stories I hear from them, is that wasn't always the case, that you would get, I don't know, Gil Gerard or one of these guys that did these old sci-fi shows, and they were very like almost like ashamed to be there, acting like, oh well, I was also in this Shakespeare play or whatever, that classic actor stereotype of and who's now I'm trying to remember the actor that played Obi-Wan in Star Wars, the original one.
Ewan McGregor? Oh no,
no,
Alec
in the
Guinness.
original, Alan,
Alec Guinness,
and he always hated that he was like most famous for that because he was this classically trained actor, and he considered it to be this shameful, I don't know, whatever. And that attitude seems to have really gone by the wayside in the last 30-40 years of, hey, if you do a thing that people dig, you want to make those people happy. And I'm so glad to see that, because that old con scene where everybody hated the fact that they were there and like had been reduced to, like, it just sounds really depressing.
Yeah, and plus a lot of these people who are cons now are people who like actually worked like specifically to become voice actors or work in these kinds of stuff, like ProZD.
Oh, that's a good point.
One show who's been at the local con a few years in a row now. For anyone unfamiliar with his body of work, you can look him up, ProZD, on YouTube. He's a great voice actor, great comedian on YouTube, and I mean, it's like, his goal was to become a voice actor, so of course he completely embraces all of the fans and everything. Although it is funny, when we were talking to him, he doesn't mention that because he's made so many videos. Like, a lot of times people will like call out like references to his videos or stuff to him, and he doesn't remember what they're referencing
because he's done so much. Absolutely, right. I'm sure that's the case with a lot of those people.
Yeah,
it's interesting that you bring that up, because I mean, how many times, the old joke was, you'd see, some piece of media where there, this is in the 80s or 90s, where some character would be going to some kind of comic convention. It would be populated, completely by the stereotypical, overweight comic book guy type.
Yeah.
And you'd have 2 or 3 celebrities that clearly just, resented the fan base and
hated that you never made it big as a big time movie actor or whatever, and that this is the best you did.
I think that's why, when I was younger, I was hesitant to go to things like that, because I was already such an outcast and already perceived as such a nerd. Yeah. That would have been the last straw where it was like, okay, well now he's amongst the fellow geeks, it's over and done. But it's really kind of transformed in, I'd say, the last 15 years or so. Now everybody kind of wants to go to these, and it's chic.
Oh yeah,
interesting. And
I'll say I was kind of not totally opposite to you, but like, I was a little bit of an outcast in high school, but it was also very much voluntary. Like, I was trying to become as nerdy as possible. Like, I'm not even joking. I would go over to the table where kids play Dungeons and Dragons and ask them if I could join in, and they'd have to be like, well, we already have like 6 players, and you can't really join in halfway through. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. If you're starting up a new campaign or anything, let me know, because I really want to learn how to play, and that sounds really fun. And like, I'd see these conventions, and I'd be like, wait, so like none of the cool people are here? Fuck yeah, sign me up.
Well, it is cool that stuff has really come a long way. So I should clarify, not to dox ourselves here, but myself and Rivers are a fair bit older than Black Belt. We're like 10, 15 years older than you. So
like I'm the youngest person in this room.
He wasn't there for the dark times.
Well, and I don't mean it like that, because to me, like, honestly, I'm not sitting here like, well, we had to suffer the slings and arrows of being nerds or whatever, dumb old guy shit. Yeah, no. I'm saying it because, like, to me, it does warm my heart, and it's great that all of this stuff became normal and cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is heartwarming to see that all of these things that, I kind of had to keep under a lid, because I didn't want to be poked fun at any more than I already.
Oh, absolutely! Like, if you talked about being into D&D in school in the mid 90s, or it was a death sentence. I mean, it was wild. And that is a really good point about the convention scene, is that it's definitely and like an opportunity to even make connections. It feels a lot more kind of subjectively cool. People don't look at it as this kind of desperate nerd thing, but it's as this fun thing to kind of unwind at. Even the the quote normies see the coolness of it.
Yeah, and Paresh, I'm sure Paresh has a lot of stories about that too.
Yeah, absolutely, Paresh. Yeah, we've been talking over you. Why don't you?
Yeah, I didn't want to come off as like a dick, but I'm just
I
like...
should also clarify that like part of the reason why I am such a nerd is because Paresh is my older cousin, so a lot of the things I really enjoy now I was kind of exposed to, or at least encouraged to get into that through him. So I mean, I'm sure you have plenty of stories that I wasn't there for since you...
Yeah, Paresh, drop some story bombs on us, bro.
Yeah, I've been patiently waiting, so I actually have...
Yeah, that's your mistake, Paresh. You're too rude to interrupt.
Yeah, you shouldn't have had us on the show if that's what you... I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, this isn't a fucking like courtroom, Paresh. Just be angry. This is a Hollywood courtroom.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I actually have a couple stories that, and just for the sake of variety, I'm gonna. These are ones that Black Belt wasn't here for.
All right,
So,
let's hear them.
And then I'll follow up with the one that he wasn't there for to make him jealous.
Hell yeah.
So at my very first convention that I went to, it's funny that we were just talking about voice actors who are known for like one character, because I actually ended my first convention meeting the voice of GLaDOS from Portal.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Oh.
her name is Ellen McLean, but us
Right.
cultured individuals know her as the voice of the computer from Pacific Rim.
That's correct.
Yes.
And was she one of those people? Was she a voice actress before that, or did she just kind of? Because I think I remember hearing a story that she kind of stumbled into it.
She was a singer before this.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and she, of course, since she was doing a convention, she gave us like a small sample, because she is an operatic singer, and she demonstrated that like very briefly at her Q&A that I was at.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that is really
Yeah.
cool. Because I know she did do the "Still Alive" song, but yeah.
Oh wait, she did. Yeah, she did the end credit song for I think both games. Which she
Yeah.
actually, I was at her Q&A, and she actually said that she likes Portal 1 better than Portal 2.
Ooh, I don't know about that, brother.
Personal taste.
Woman of culture.
Speaking of
That's
woman
not
of culture, she was. I'm wondering how she's doing during this whole social distancing thing, because she made it a point to point out that well, let me put it this: she's a hugger.
No.
Like, she's a very strong hugger. So, and it was even brought up at one point during the panel that she was like, "Did you know that in order to stay healthy, you need at least 12 hugs a day?" And
Oh, no.
I am way behind. Jeez.
Yeah. We're not doing so well.
Yeah, we really are. But for the last, it was me and two other people left in line. So and okay, so this is just playing off of a joke that she said earlier, that she said she would, quote, do anything for $1.
Oh no.
And person two spots in front of me in line said, "Hey, I got $1. Can I have a hug?" And she was just like, "You know what? The three of you just come up here and get your hug." And so yeah, one by one we just went up on stage and gave her a hug. And I actually have a picture of when I went up and hugged her.
Aw.
But yeah, I still had a question. Just a little bit of backstory. She was there not only to sign autographs and stuff, but she was also promoting her husband's book, which was called, and I still remember it to this day, Dancing with Eternity.
I will point out quickly that her husband is also a voice actor, well known for playing, I believe, Saxon Hale in Team Fortress 2.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I love him already.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, she also plays the announcer in Team Fortress 2. That's
that is
right.
correct. Yeah. Anyway, continue with your story. I just enjoy being a living IMDb page.
So yeah, when I got up to the microphone to say my answer, or to say my question rather, I asked her, "You've been here promoting your husband's book all this time. Are you at all interested in maybe recording an audiobook for it?" And man, I did not expect this to happen, but the crowd actually applauded at that.
Nice.
And
So you became the celebrity.
Yeah. And I've been coasting off that ever since, signing autographs.
dude, I deliberately left the hotel after that happened, because I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna end it there, you know.
Yeah, ended on a high note. You can't.
Exactly. So but she actually answered. She said that there will be an audiobook, but I haven't actually looked it up to see if she actually went through with it. But whatever.
I can't believe you didn't follow through on that, you fake gamer girl.
Yeah. Hashtag fake gamer boy.
You can't see it right now, but I am currently trying to devour my controller.
Your controller is not plugged in.
See it happen, but I'm afraid we're going to have to cancel you.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry, bud. Everybody, cancel Paresh on Twitter. What's your
Okay,
what's
so
your
my Twitter
handle?
name is actually at noblekind92. Yeah.
I was going to call you out for self-promotion, but I remember this is your podcast.
So unfollow at Noblekind. Follow him and then unfollow him to prove a point.
I am removing the Spotify app from my phone as soon as the call is over, and I'm
downloading Twitter and creating an account.
I will be registering my complaint with the Podcasters Council in perpetuity.
No.
I will be forming a podcasters council that you can send your complaints to.
Right, but we all have to wear hooded cloaks, and we have to stand 20 feet above everyone else.
Yeah, and have like giant, obnoxious like medallions around our neck that have like the audiophile icon in gold embossed onto them.
I don't know, guys. This sounds like our next group cosplay.
Yeah, somebody's gonna steal this idea and go to a con as the Council of Podcast Elders.
And actually do have another story that has like a bit of another heartwarming ending. Was
Hey, drop it.
Oh, hit me.
Black Belt, you were here for this, but I don't know if you remember the exact details. But so we were in the gaming room at a certain con, and there was an area where you could play Rock Band on stage.
I know what story
There
you're
you
about to
go,
tell.
yeah. There was a guy up there in a Jokah cosplay. Funny enough, Fredo. Yeah, Jokah baby. And he's up there. The song that he picked was "Before I Forget" by Slipknot.
The most Joker song of all time.
Right?
Oh, no.
And so he's up there, and he's not just standing there at the mic and just swaying to the music. He is full on rocking the fuck out.
And like when he got to the chorus, he would like hold the mic out to like the people crowded around to sing along with him. He was like headbanging and like carrying the mic stand around with him. He was into it. Like he's putting on performance.
Yes. And then during the instrumental break, because I was the one who was most energetic in the crowd, he actually called me up onto the stage to do the bridge. And so we did that together, and turns out he's the lead singer of a local band.
Oh, all right. Well, that would explain why he was like competent at it.
Oh my, exactly.
Yeah, like because we were actually talking about that afterwards. We were like, okay, this dude has like legit stage presence. He's got to like have a band or something, right? And we went up and asked him afterwards.
So just to do a little unpaid endorsement here, the name of his band is Get Those Nerds.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that band name. So go listen to Get Those Nerds. And I mean, is that the style of music that they do, or was he doing something?
Yes,
totally
that is
different?
the style of music they do. Hang on, I actually have their album right here. Yes, their debut. They actually self-produced their own album called Rage Quit.
Oh my god, that album name is incredible.
So, here's some actual song titles. One Up, The Arcade at 8, and Kawaii AF.
All right, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, and they also have one called B20.
Paresh, if we're talking about heartwarming con stories, I hate to monopolize the conversation too much, but this is one I've been wanting to share because I actually I had my first date with my current significant other at a convention.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Get a load of
Okay, I
this
want to hear
guy.
this. Wait, actually, before you do this, even though I've heard this story, it's not a con story, you should tell how you met her.
Oh,
and
yeah,
when,
so there's
'cause-
a little bit of backstory to that too. Do you want to hear the whole thing?
Strap
Yeah.
yourselves in, folks.
Yes, whole story. Yes, we're all saps here. Go for it.
So this one actually goes back a little bit before the convention because this was during the summer where, if you guys will remember, the summer where just everyone was playing Pokemon Go, where it was just, it was the closest thing I think we've had to happiness in the past 10 years was those first 3 months where just everybody. Well, now we have Animal Crossing, which has filled that void, but back.
Yeah, Animal Crossing is just indoors Pokemon Go. Send tweet.
Exactly. But it's that same Skinner box kind of just false feeling of accomplishment. When you like, oh, I caught my.
Yeah, but at least unlike every other game that does that, it's not designed to make you spend real money.
Exactly. That's what makes it good. Anyway. So this was when Pokemon Go was huge, and I was playing at a local place that was very popular. You'd see between 80 and 100 plus people there sometimes just playing the game. The wasps that normally inhabited that area hated us, and which made it even better because there were all these cell phone nerds just ruining their good time.
I can't believe you managed to intimidate the most angry insects out there.
That's right. Get their asses, King.
No, but anyway, sorry. So when I was there one night, I just there was this girl there who was playing entirely by herself, and I normally I would not have approached her, but I just thought she was very cute, so I attempted to initiate conversation, and instead of falling face first onto a rake like I normally do, when trying to talk to a pretty girl. It went really well. We ended up talking for about half an hour, and then she had to leave to go meet somebody, and that was almost that. And I said, I may never run into this person again. I need to do something before she leaves. So I went up to her and I asked, hey, can we be Facebook friends? Because I thought asking for her number would have been too forward, which she told me later would have been. She wouldn't have responded to me. So asking for her Facebook profile information was the right call.
Yeah, you passed that charisma check with flying colors.
Yeah. I went Paragon all the way, baby.
God,
Renegade would have cost me.
So then, how does this relate to the cons now?
I was still playing the game. We were friends on Facebook. She would like my stuff on occasion, and every time she did it, I'd get that little endorphin rush. Be like, the pretty girl liked the picture I posted. Yay! So there were a couple. One time I messaged her and be like, hey, a group of us are gonna go play Pokemon Go, and would you like to join us? And she said, no, I'd like to, but I'm busy with school, which you know what that usually means. So I did that twice, and she said no both times, which to me, okay, that was my signal. I was like, okay, I've asked her twice. She said no twice. That means, she's just not interested in seeing me physically. I need to just let it go. And that was going to be that. I had no plans of ever contacting this person again. That was going to be the end of it. And then right about a week before, there was a big convention coming up. It was one of the big ones. And I was getting ready for that. And out of nowhere, I got a message from her that said, hey, I'm going to be going to this convention for the first time, but I don't really do this. I noticed, you're getting ready for it. Would you mind showing me around? And, to her, I said, well, no, to her, I said, oh, sure, I could probably squeeze you in for a little bit. But, in my head, fireworks were going off, alarm signals were going off. There were fires everywhere. I called like 3 people and canceled on them for that Saturday, which got me.
I'm picturing you just looking at your phone doing like that Tex Avery Wolf thing with your eyes popping out of your head. You're like hitting yourself at the top of the head with a hammer. Like,
it just turned into a Katy Perry music video in my head. There were just fireworks coming out of my nipples, and there were just explosions in the sky, and I was doing the Tootsie Roll. So I completely bailed on everybody else to go hang out with this girl, and when I met her, she actually didn't have a badge. She was just kind of walking around. So I chose the Renegade option this time. I managed to sneak her in stealthily, and she was dressed as Ezio from Assassin's Creed, so it worked even better. So we ended up going through a lot of places that we actually probably weren't supposed to be in, but it was a really, really, really special day. And I'm almost 4 years later. I'm still with her, so obviously I did something right. So yeah, you can find love at a convention. It is possible. Meet your SO at a con like a normal person. Don't use Tinder.
Well, and I'm sure that's in our friend circle, I'm not going to name names or anything, but there's quite a few people we know that have done exactly that. Have like met each other at a con and hit it off. It seems like a good, because it's a relaxed, fun atmosphere, and usually you're there because you're into the same scene, or there's going to be a fair amount of overlap between your interests. So, there's sometimes a recipe for disaster with like relationship con drama and all that, but I don't know. I've definitely seen success.
That actually reminds me, when you spoke about people who met through the con scene, like that actually reminded me of another story for me. And I actually think Black Belt was here for this. Were you there for the Gundam room?
Yes. Yeah, well, because that was last year. Wasn't that like just last year?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, for this one, I was with 2 of my friends who met through the con scene. We were cosplaying. I was Orga, she was Lofter, and he was Akihiro. They were all from Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. So because these two friends, they're huge Gundam fans. So naturally, we had to go. There was a room where everyone was basically building Gundam kits. So we walk into that room, like basically literally single file. And as we go in, someone looks up and they say, and no, they don't say anything. They really just gasp.
No, someone looked up and said, "Oh my god!" I remember that.
So okay, yeah. So I said, "Oh my god!" Then one person looked up and then went wide-eyed, and then it was like a wave of people just just turning to look at us and then looking all impressed. So me being with my dorky ass just said in my worst Kermit the Frog impression, "Hello, everyone." But yes, it was amazing. We felt like royalty.
God, yeah. Oh, speaking of royalty, while wearing your cosplay, Paresh, I think we have to talk about the best group cosplay we've ever done. I'm referring to a couple years in a row. We're wrestling fans, and we've actually cosplayed Jinder.
I was hoping this is what you were gonna bring up. Yes.
Surprise, surprise! Paresh and I are brown dudes, so yeah. Few years in a row, we Paresh cosplayed as Jinder Mahal, and me and one of my brothers cosplayed as the Singh brothers from WWE. And like every year that we've gone, we've constantly been like swarmed by people running to like take pictures with us because that's not a wrestler most people cosplay as. I mean, cosplaying as wrestlers isn't that common anyway. But I mean, if I say so myself, it's a pretty damn good cosplay that we managed to put together.
Yeah, that absolutely ruled.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. And
The hardest part was really just finding a turban, which my dad literally got that from had to go to Trinidad to get that one because we wanted an authentic one.
You wanted the real deal.
Yeah,
I'm not going the extra mile.
yeah, fucking imported cosplays over here, guys.
Yeah, that was great. Did you guys tweet that?
Yes, we did, and both he and the Singh brothers liked it.
I was gonna say because the Singh brothers, especially, who by the way, really underrated talents.
Oh,
Those
they're
guys are
amazing.
terrific.
Yeah, I'm so glad they're like actually wrestling now.
Yeah. So probably not too many people cosplaying them. I'm sure they got like a huge kick out of that.
Now I'm thinking, we've got to expand this and start the Busted Limes wrestling night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm so bummed that you guys didn't have me in the wrestling episode.
The Busted Limes, Busted Heads.
No.
There you go.
Hey, if the AEW episode gets some good traction, who knows? We might do a spin-off.
Wink, wink, Fredo.
Hey man, you let me know anytime, buddy.
Hey, now that we've waxed poetic about how great Paresh and I do together at cons, it's my turn to make him jealous with stories from the year that he wasn't there.
All right, let's hear it.
Fantastic.
I have 3 stories here that I'm gonna tell in order from what'll make him the least jealous to the most jealous.
Oh, this should be good. I'm liking the progression.
Yeah, so for context, as he said earlier, this was the year that he didn't go because he decided it was more important to study for the bar exam so he could get a job and be a productive member of society and all this bullshit.
It's called running the capitalism rat race. Get it right.
More like capitalism, folks. Subscribe to Clout Grifters.
Oh, would you look at that? We lost a subscriber for that joke. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, so this year it was just me and my brothers there, although of course because all of Paresh's other friends were there because they are into lame, it was kind of funny because we were going and hanging out with them. They're like, hey, remember us? We're your friend's kid cousins. Want to hang out with us for a little bit?
Totally.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Yeah.
Time.
And the first thing we saw was cool is we were just making the rounds on like the upper level of the building at this con because we wanted to just figure out where some of the panels we were going to go to were being held, so we weren't like freaking out trying to get there later. And as we're walking to one room, we walked past a couple that was cosplaying as Han Solo and Princess Leia, which was cool. That's a nice couple cosplays. And then like as we made the rounds and came back around, we saw a huge like crowd gathering and applauding, and we ran up just in time to see Han Solo propose to Princess Leia right on the con.
Oh, nice! That's really sweet.
And I did get pictures of it. It was really sweet cosplay, sweet proposal. Everybody was cheering him on.
Wow,
couple's goals right there. Yeah.
Love to see, honestly.
Yeah, really. Yeah, nice segue from you guys talking about, meeting people through cons.
Yeah, that's really adorable. That's cool that you got to be there, and I'm sure they appreciated taking the pics and stuff.
Yeah, and it was great because everybody around was like applauding and cheering them on. I'm sure that was a great moment for them.
It's good that it worked out, though. I've heard horror stories about those where someone has done that at a public event, and the other person wasn't ready for that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no. Leia seemed ready in this case. It seemed like it went over well.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so the other story, so this one I think is one of my favorite stories. So Paresh, you'll actually have to help me tell the story even though you weren't there. There's this one character that Paresh cosplays all the time. It's a super fucking obscure Paresh one. So the baseball captain.
Yeah, Kintaro Oe from Golden Boy.
Oh god, that rules.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm at the con. I'm just walking around the gaming hall because my brothers have gone off to have fun without me as they're wont to do, and I'm just kind of looking around, enjoying myself. And I see these two girls walk by, and one of them is dressed as Kentaro, and I immediately recognize it. And I'm like,
wow, what are the odds of that?
And like, I run over to this girl and was like, hey, can I get a picture of you? My cousin dresses as this character all the time, and you're the first person other than him that I've seen cosplay this character. And like, she was super surprised because she'd never seen anybody else cosplay that character before. So of course we talked a little bit about that. I took the picture and I sent it to Paresh, and I was like, dude, somebody cosplayed your dude! And he responded like totally excited and freaked out.
Yeah, that's wild that like the one you run into someone else
Right.
that's cosplaying that character, and it's the one time he's not there.
Exactly.
Well, that's
Great.
fine because at the first time I ever cosplayed that character, I actually ran into another cosplayer, so it works out.
Yeah.
I still say that Paresh, you should get on Craigslist and put up a missed connections and see if you can
other
Oh my God.
Kentaro.
I don't think it counts as a misconnection if you literally missed the connection.
Well, fair enough. You know,
Yeah.
I want to do the speaking of which, I want to do a Kentaro cosplay, but I want to do the version where he's just struggling to swim in the pool.
Yeah, so last but not least, the story that I know he was expecting me to tell, the one that will make him the most jealous.
Mhm.
And I think it's good that I'm bringing this story up now since we had a little discussion earlier about nerd culture becoming more mainstream. One of the guests was WWE superstar and chief mainstream representative of nerd culture, Xavier Woods.
Oh hell yeah! And he is all over the con scene. Yeah, he rules.
Guys, you gotta briefly explain him to me because I have been out of the wrestling game for a minute.
Yeah, so Xavier Woods, he's a member of the WWE tag team, The New Day, who have won a shit ton of tag titles, very successful.
Dressed up like the Saiyans.
Yeah, so they went viral one year, WrestleMania 32, because their entrance gear, they dressed as the Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z. And they're constantly doing, like, nerd stuff in their outfits and ring gear and stuff. And, yeah, and they've really been known for like making that a part of their outfits. But Xavier Woods also, one thing that he's gained a lot of popularity for is his gaming channel on YouTube, Up Up Down Down, where he and other WWE wrestlers all play video games together. And so he's gotten a lot of popularity both in and out of WWE for that. And so he actually did 2 panels at the convention that year. One was just like a general wrestling panel, and the other one was specifically for Up Up Down Down. But so a few stories really cool from what happened there were that one, when we went to also for context, me and my brothers dressed as the New Day for this convention because we knew we were going to get to see him. Yeah, so we went to his wrestling panel, Q&A panel, which is really cool because, you know, he was pretty open about his answers, including what my highlight of that weekend was, where he just straight up roasted Hulk Hogan in one of his answers. For anyone unfamiliar, Xavier Woods and all of the New Day are African-American men, and for anyone who doesn't know, Hulk Hogan dropped the hard R a few times. Yeah.
I don't know about that, brother.
And so, yeah, so that was great. And, like, he's done it a few other times, too. Like, every time Xavier Woods roasts Hulk Hogan, like, 10 years gets added to my lifespan. It's great. Yeah. But one really funny thing is, so after that panel, we all just went to the gaming hall, because that's like the loading screen of conventions for us. Is just we hang out there until there's something else to go to. But literally, when we got there, Xavier Woods was just walking around the gaming hall, just playing video games and talking to people. So we were able to run up and go get a selfie with him, because he was like totally just taking pictures with and talking to people, being super casual. And that was cool for me, because, like, I'm sure he absolutely doesn't remember this, but I got to, like, tell him that the New Day was the reason I got back into wrestling. So that just meant a lot to me that I got to tell him that. That was really cool.
I bet you he remembers it.
Yeah, no. That was cool, because then later on he has Up, Up, Down, Down panel, and they put him in, like, a big, like, you know, like one of those auditorium areas they have in some convention centers, but, like, only, like, the first 2 rows were full of people. So, like, he just sat, like, on the edge of the stage with his mic and, like, had everybody gather around in the front 2 rows. And it wasn't even really a panel. Like, he just had a conversation with us. Like, we were just shooting the shit with him for an hour.
Yeah, that rules. He seems like a super cool
So
guy.
down to earth and cool about everything. Yeah, and of course, we sent that selfie to Paresh afterwards, and, like, I could hear him screaming from downtown.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I like the last 3 stories because not only are they very, very heartfelt, heartwarming stories, but they all made Paresh upset. So
Right.
Yeah, that's the best part of
Yeah.
these stories.
Yeah, well, I'll throw it back to him, like, as a signal of a good favor, and in the hopes that he won't cancel his podcast out of spite. I'll let him tell a couple more stories.
Last
just
episode of
even
the
it out.
I'm trying to rack up last podcast episode.
Lime podcast with just Paresh shit talking black belt for an hour and a half once a week.
That's the rest of the podcast.
All right, so I actually have 2 more stories, and then we could just wrap it up because I realize we're going long here. But okay, so the first one, black belt was here for. The second one, black belt wasn't. So the first one, black belt. You remember that bullshit Pokemon Jeopardy panel that we went to?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Where like some of the questions were like, "What symbol was on the door in this episode?" Like, nobody fucking knows. Are you going to ask me like, what level does Charmeleon evolve?
Because you didn't have me there, Paresh. If you had, trust me, I've done Pokemon trivia before, and I while the rest of you nerds were going on dates in high school, I was studying the blade. So anyway, sorry, continue.
But yeah,
with your story.
it's really kind of a short one. But I remember to this day the question that really almost made us walk out of the panel because of how bullshit it was black belt had it semi right. It was in this particular episode, what unusual object is hanging on the wall while Charmander is burning down the mansion?
Wow, that is what was the unusual object?
I don't know this.
It was apparently it was a moose head, a mounted moose head.
Yeah, what was my answer that was close? You remember more things that I say than I remember.
Well, what did you guess?
I don't remember
either, actually. Wow.
So why did you get my hopes up by saying that I got it partially correct?
No, because you said it was what symbol was on the door. It was really a moose head on the wall.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, yeah. So I got like the adjective right in my answer.
Extremely insider questions.
I thought I had a deep obsessive level when it comes to Pokemon, but I guess that's more the games than the anime, because I don't remember a moose head at all in any of the episodes.
Well, yeah, because it was in the background of one scene for like 2 seconds.
I do remember. I remember in one of the earlier episodes, you saw Pidgeotto eating just a straight up regular worm, not another Pokemon. Just worm.
There are a lot of episodes in the original anime where they just show like straight up regular animals.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of obviously gone out of favor now, but I guess that was one of those scenarios back in the early days. But yeah. One scene in the background for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, and now for the final story for today. So
There we go.
this was actually at a convention that Black Belt came with me to, but he wasn't at this particular panel. It was because I follow the Toonami crew on Twitter, so when I found out that they were hosting a panel for the 2 new seasons of Fully Cooley, I mean, of course I'm gonna jump on that shit. So we go there. I go to the panel and we do a short Q&A, and they basically explain what the show is and how it came.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at the idea of someone trying to explain Fully Cooley, even to an audience of people that already like know what it is.
It's just about puberty.
Yeah, it's like a wacky. For people that don't know it, it's like a really wacky, out there show. Great show.
So then what happened? At the end, after they played like a video interview with the Pillows, which is the band who provides the soundtrack for the show, when it seemed like the cast was about to wrap up, but one of them comes back out on stage and says, "Okay, so I should have mentioned this earlier, but the names of the 2 series are Fully Cooley Progressive and Fully Cooley Alternative." So the guy just comes back out on stage and says, "Hey, how would you guys like to see the first episode of Fully Cooley Progressive before anyone else?"
Nice. So you guys got to have like a sneak preview.
No, not even a sneak preview. They showed the whole first episode of Fully Cooley Progressive there in the panel hall.
Oh, dope.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's great because they got out of the panel and I was like tapping my foot impatiently in the gaming hall. I was like, "What the fuck took you guys so long?" And they're like, "We just saw the first episode of FLCL for free," and I was like, "What?"
Got his ass absolutely destroyed.
Never recovered.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Well, folks.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been running extremely long.
Don't worry, we're gonna edit out like 90% of the shit you guys said anyway, so it's okay.
I understand that, folks. Listen, I'm going to say it for the 3rd or 4th. Listen to Clout Grifters. Subscribe, listen, etc. Your favorite leftist podcast.
I am here promoting nothing except peace, happiness, and harmony in the universe. But I would also say listen to Clout Grifters. Well, like I said, my plan is to secretly infiltrate the Cloud Grifters podcast, and this is just step 1. I'm still waiting for the Unknown Rivers merchandise to appear.
I got to talk to them about
website.
Getting that T-shirt with your face on it in Grift Shop.
I'm also waiting for the Death to Rivers T-shirt to show up in the Busted Limes
Rivers is
so
gonna
that-
have merch before me or Paresh.
You guys need to put out a T-shirt that just says like banned guests, and it just says Fredo and Rivers on it.
So, hey, if that becomes a reality, if you guys actually make that, I will
Hell
buy
yes.
one, and I will
Hell
wear
yes.
it at every convention I go to.
Well, thanks for having us on, Paresh.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Delighted to be on.
Let's do this.
How do you guys close it out? GN?
GN.
Bye, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yay. Whew. Well, that was a monster to edit, but nonetheless, big thanks to Unknown Rivers for joining us once again, and big shout out to Fredo from the Clout Grifters podcast, which is now available on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And who knows, give a listen to Clout Grifters. You may hear me on there one day. Notice me, Babs.